Today, the European Central Bank is widely expected to increase interest rates again. That will be the 7th time that it's done so since July. And this is going to come as a hammer blow to hundreds of thousands of families. It will immediately impact those 250,000 families and households who have a mortgage on a tracker rate. And it will hit the pockets of tens of thousands of households who have had their mortgages sold to vulture funds. Many of these households now, Tánaiste, are being charged interest rates as high as 8%. They are now set to receive the 7th letter through the post, informing them of a further rate hike, informing them of a further increase in their monthly mortgage repayment. And of course, this all comes at a time of great financial pressure for these families, families that are already being squeezed and finances stretched by a cost of living crisis, by the rise in food prices, transport costs, energy bills, all bearing down heavily on these families. Last week we heard from our own central bank, and they told us 1 in 5 households are seeing their mortgage repayments increase by €400 per month. Now, Tánaiste, that's €5,000 per year. A borrower who recently reached out to me told me that her mortgage repayments had increased by €523 per month. That's an increase of more than €6,000 per year, Tánaiste. Another person reached out to me to voice her desperation. Her loan was sold a number of years ago to a vulture fund. She's seen her interest rates increase time and time again. She said, "I'm so stressed by this. My mental health is suffering. I have young children and I'm trapped in this cycle." Now, last week, Sinn Féin brought a motion before this House calling on the introduction of mortgage interest relief, targeted and temporary, to support struggling families with rising mortgage costs. The proposal we put forward was a scheme that would absorb 30% of the rise in mortgage costs, with a maximum benefit for households of up to €1,500. It was a sensible proposal, one that would make a real difference to countless families out there, taking the sharp edge off the sudden and significant spike in interest rates that these workers and families are facing. Now, Tánaiste, your government has rejected this proposal, and that was a mistake, Tánaiste. The government has claimed that they cannot act until budget in October. Can I remind you, in the past number of weeks, your government has announced tax changes on petrol and diesel, on solar panels, tax changes for hospitality and tourism sector. You have removed levies for developers, all outside the normal budget cycle at a cost of hundreds of millions of euro. So the argument that nothing can be done to support these families in the here and now with rising mortgage costs before October is simply a nonsense. As mortgage costs soar for struggling households, hundreds of thousands of them, the state can and should step in to support them, to give them that type of relief. So now is not the time for excuses, Tánaiste. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to be on the side of mortgage holders. Now is the time to give them relief. So I ask you, Tánaiste, as you see mortgage holders increase their costs to keep a roof over their head, as you see people, and you know this, people paying 8%, and that will increase after today's decision, people being charged thousands and thousands of euro more than this time last year, will you finally introduce a temporary and target mortgage interest relief, as Sinn Féin has proposed, to provide this needed support for them? And if you don't, what do you say to those families? What are you going to do? What type of relief? Or are you just going to wash your hands and abandon them?
Could I say, Deputy, that there is no doubt that pressure is increasing on families with mortgages. But I always have to say that we have to be mindful not to rush into the Sinn Féin sort of knee-jerk response to issues that do that emerge from time to time. I mean, the most notorious knee-jerk proposal that you came forward with was in respect to the energy crisis. Now, unusually, it's rare in economics that the economic proposals that parties put forward get tested so soon afterwards. But your proposal in respect of energy was tested about a month later in Britain, and it was a disaster, leading to the demise of a Prime Minister and her government. The point being is that you need to look at this more broadly than you are. Even your proposal is discriminatory against those on fixed mortgage rates. People with the same loans, same repayments, and the average repayment across fixed, tracker and variable is roughly the same. But you're proposing to exclude nearly 50% from your specific proposals, to discriminate against those, which points to the need to look at this more broadly in terms of the cost of living pressures that are undoubtedly on people. And the government has intervened. You've already outlined some of our interventions, which were part of a more comprehensive package of measures, totalling €12 billion of an intervention by government to reduce pressures on people, families, in respect of childcare, in respect of education costs, in respect of healthcare costs, in respect of transport costs. Right across the board, we've reduced the costs of public services. And that is evident even in the most recent CEO figures in respect of education, for example. Inflation is down by 6.2%. And in health, the inflation is 1.6%, which relative to healthcare is quite a significant change from the norm in terms of 5 or 6% increases, because health expenditure always, or health costs, go ahead of the norm. Yes, food prices are up significantly, and that's because of the feed through now, because of the energy crisis and the increasing costs for farmers and food producers, is feeding into groceries across the board. That's acknowledged. And there's a 20% increase across the European Union on average. It's about 13% in March in the Republic. And so I do think there's far more merit in the kind of interventions that we've been doing, such as free school book scheme for every pupil in primary school and special schools next September, such as the school transport costs, again being significantly reduced, for exam fees being waived. The hot school meals programme will be extended to all Desh primary schools from September, benefiting 64,500 children. There will be a one-off €100 increase to the back-to-school clothing and footwear allowance this summer, which will benefit 273,000 children. 640,000 households in receipt of child benefit will receive a €100 lump sum per child in June. And the fourth €200 electricity credit appeared in people's accounts last month. The reductions in excise on petrol and diesel will continue until the 1st of June, and about 1.3 million pensioners and so on are also benefiting in terms of additional social welfare payments. So our programme in terms of cost of living has come right through this first half of this year, as designed by us in a comprehensive way, which I think is a better approach, rather than just picking out sector by sector every month in terms of the sort of knee-jerk response of the opposition.
There are hundreds of thousands of families that are going to hear in the next hour or so that their mortgages are going up. And they've just listened to you, and they've heard nothing in relation to direct supports from yourself. Now, your backbenchers will brief the media saying, we're considering this and all the rest, but you, as leader of the party, are still not saying that you're willing to intervene and provide direct supports for mortgage holders. And that's a crazy situation. We have a situation where people are paying already 8% interest rates. It's going to go up after today. And it's likely to go up further, and we have a government that is washing their hands and abandoning these mortgage holders. Now, your party championed the idea of mortgage interest relief at a time when interest rates were a fraction of what they are now. We have families that are paying €5,000 and €6,000 more. Listen to the testimony, locked in a cycle affecting their mental health. The central bank telling us that more families are going to drop into arrears. And what's the government offering? Free childcare, free school books. We're asking for direct intervention in relation to mortgage holders. We're asking for a response that is time-limited, that is targeted. We have put our proposals on the table as far back as last year. You are coming up with nothing, and people are pleading for action. So I'm asking you, are you considering at all any direct support for mortgage holders as a result of this cost of living crisis that have seen their interest rates increase 7 times in the last 7 or 8 months?